A journeyman's a really nice way to think about it because it's accurate and it's kind of a nice place to be. You know, classic destination. You know, it's about the journey, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Studio Beancan's drawing board segment. These are collections of musings, thoughts, arguments caught on tape while recording the time-lapse videos and put together just for you. Think about this as the Beancan scrap pile. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Let's do it.
You know, I don't know if you feel this way, but I have this situation where occasionally, and it might happen a little more when I do these videos, they're out in public, that like I get asked for a significant amount of career advice, but that career advice often goes beyond my current knowledge base. And one thing I'm trying to figure out how best to do is be like, these are the things I personally have experienced and I know. These are the things I have tried to do that didn't work, and I feel like that's helpful avoidance stuff. And then everything else is just kind of like my personal thesis based on what I've observed. But just really being good at denoting, this is what I know about the world of publishing or writing, and this is what I believe, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like people can ask me. I'm a journeyman. So
I think that's a really nice, a grounding way to think about it. Because sometimes I struggle with, you know, I am professionally published. I have done things that I wanted so much to do, and I've done them, which is great. Now that I've done them, I want to do so much more, you know? When I was starting doing comics, if I met someone that had a book through Abrams, I would think they were done, you know, they're a pro. Now that I've done it, I'm like, I got a day job. I'm like proud of the book, and I want to do more books, right? But like being able to ground that in a way where people aren't like, oh, what are you is a question that I think about for myself, and how you identify, or like how I identify as a fiction author. Like a journeyman's a really nice way to think about it because it's accurate and it's kind of a nice place to be. You know, classic destination. You know, it's about the journey, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, a journeyman is a person who does gigs, you know, which is where, I don't know how you feel. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I'm like doing work on video games here, or submitting to an anthology over here, that's what it is. And I can speak to the writing life. If somebody was asking me, I could speak to the writing life as, you know, a life where sometimes, you know, you're not working on your own projects, where sometimes you have to look at it as a business, where you're not like a Stephen King who can just like write whenever he wants or not write whenever he wants.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if Stephen King can not write. He literally can't not write, it seems like. But yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
So like I could speak to the journeyman experience.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the experience of being, you know, like a multi-millionaire author, but
Right. Do you like
nobody's gonna be able to interview Stephen King about that anyway.
Yeah. I guess then my question is like, what? I don't know. Like, if we were gonna give advice to us 14 years ago on our first ever book tour, what do you think you would want to talk about or tell those people?
What would I tell my younger self? That question.
Yeah.
I would tell him to find an agent.
Yeah. Right.
As somebody who had a blog called Look Ma No Agent.
Yeah.
.blogspot.com. I felt I spent a little longer on the indies than I really needed to. I feel like my first couple of books I could have jumped to a bigger press, which is not like a regret, because regret doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I feel like knowing when you're ready to take that leap, and doing whatever it takes to get that bigger contract, that's what I would tell myself.
But that being said, well, so like the reason I didn't have a book out when we were touring is I was pitching to agents, right?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get one. And so many of the people we knew back then, and a number of them have books with big publishers now and have agents or whatever, like couldn't get one. And part, I think, of so many times, you know, I get asked how I got an agent. And I usually tell people that the specific way I got an agent is not actually super helpful.
Yeah.
That of the people I know that got agents, they all got them in mostly different ways. The one way you can try to get an agent actively is like the least likely one to actually get you one, which is query agents. You can look up, queryshark.org is what I was looking at 15 years ago.
I've never even gotten a bite from agents I've queried.
Right, exactly. I got like a tiny nibble, but it was like I pitched, and then 8 months later when they said, if I don't respond in eight months, you can follow up. And I followed up, and they're like, oh, thanks for telling me. I hadn't seen it, right? But like so many of the agents, like all but maybe one of the people I know that have agents, the agents found them.
Yeah.
And the way the agents found them is they were making work, putting it out. You got an award, a Philip K. Dick Award, which is how your agent found you, right?
I was nominated.
You were
for the Philip K.
nominated.
Dick Award.
Yeah, which is how they saw this person. Was like, oh, this person must be good. You wouldn't have been nominated if you weren't publishing stuff, whatever way you could.
Yeah, no, it was from process of grinding.
Sure.
That's how I got picked up by Trident.
Yeah, and the way I got my agent was my parents were at a wedding, and their friend's son was an assistant agent, and he was finally allowed to get his own people. And the thing is, when agents are starting, much like creators are starting, they don't have a track record to prove. So they need people to trust them, and they need to trust people. And so he was approaching my dad, who does kids' books. And my dad was like, no, I've already got a book deal. And my mom's like, what about Danny? And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. You want me to text my son your email? And I had like 4 projects that I was currently pitching on my own and getting nothing back for. But he saw, I can learn with this person because he's producing work consistently over time that's of a good quality. And so within a couple of years of working with him, I went from nobody responding to me to people noticing I was good enough to even bother telling me what wasn't good enough, right? And so my improvement shot through the roof in the amount of time I was working with him. And then again, so many other people. It's like, oh, I was at this residency, and an agent came and read all our works, and they found my stuff. Or this person reached out to me because they found a short story or whatever. So the advice I give based on my experience and the other people at Writers Co-op and yours is just making the stuff and putting it out there is the best you can do, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one path at all. I mean, people get multi-million-dollar Netflix deals off of their Wattpad fiction. So it's just like there's no rules with actual writing, there's no rules with getting your work out there, and there's no rules to success.
Yeah.
Who was it? Django Wexler, my old CMU anime club buddy. I wasn't even in CMU, I didn't go there, but I went to their anime club because they showed better than the one at Pitt. He worked in computer programming for 10 years or something after college, and then after he made his money, he started writing Napoleonic War fantasy. Super successful guy. That was his path.
Yeah.
I was the one where it's I would not have been able to be a computer programmer. I couldn't have done that. I needed to be in the writing life from beginning to end, just that makes me happy.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that so many cartoonists or writers work, and we can create expectation of a certain level of success for us ourselves. And since it's so uncertain and so often luck oriented, and it is really hard to be a judge of your own work, the point is, I guess the uncertainty is real. I have realized, kind of similar to you in a different way, I just won't stop. I have found out in the times of my life where there's something off and I've been grumpy or something, I found out it's because I haven't been writing or drawing. Yeah. And given the fact I will never stop while alive, what do you do with it then? If you can't not do it, then for me, I just want to keep getting better and hopefully impact people in a positive way, the way stories I enjoy impact me, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're already doing it. The only point I've ever felt unsuccessful as a writer were the 7 years between my second and third book.
Well,
and that's because I just wasn't publishing. But even then, I was constantly going out, doing workshops, doing readings, writing podcast scripts. I was writing constantly. But there was always that need to just put the stuff out there. I don't know. for me, that's always been the end goal, is that communication with people through storytelling. And it was never like, oh, like, I want to be rich or whatever. That's up to the gods. It's like having that connection, you know, which you can only have through putting out your work.